Hey there, you're listening to BD4, where there's no better way to get your Yankees and Knicks analysis. Yanks every series, Knicks every game, and MMA on occasion. Here's your host, RJ Carbone.
And a high drive into left center field. Stanton's going to watch another one fly. Are you kidding me? DiVincenzo a three. Bang! Bang! Knicks take a 1-point
time to apologize to absolutely nobody.
at the wall. See ya! See ya! See ya! Mr. November. Anthony for three. Bang! That one goes down and the game is tied.
Rose, you shook up the world again.
I did it again. But I did it, man. I really just had
Gonna have to. Bronson running away. Oh my! He has been the best player to put on that uniform.
Ball game over. Yankees win. The Yankees win.
Well, here we are. The season over before it's begun? Question mark? Welcome to the podcast, everybody. Welcome to episode 817 of BD4, where there's no better way to get your Yankees and Knicks analysis. We also do MMA, Yanks every series, Knicks every game, MMA on occasion. Discussing the Yankees in this one, obviously. It is an audio-only episode. This will be on all platforms, but it's only audio. And that's because this is just going to be a quick reaction. I've had a couple of days, a day and a half to think about it. It is Sunday afternoon as I'm recording. To the obvious news. It's a reaction to really to everything. But the latest injury bombshell. And listen, I'm not going to lie to you. I've went through this offseason with a little bit of frustration in the back of my head at all times. To me, it all started, not to keep bringing this up, but the beginning of the end, in my opinion, was number 22 leaving. It was Juan Soto leaving. That just, when that happened, it kind of just put a damper on the rest of the winter for me. Like, anything they did after that, I felt good about some of the moves, but I'm always going to have that in the back of my mind. And everybody was all confident prior to him leaving, and after him leaving, everyone was telling a lot of Yankees fans were on the side of, oh, it's just one guy. You can't field a team around one guy, etc. Well, that one guy got you to the World Series. So that kind of was the start of this to me. I just felt like there was close to an impossible chance to recover from something like that. Anyways, that's beside the point, because the Yankees are now dealing with an incredible, possibly historic amount of injuries. I mean, ever since the first day of camp up to now, it has not stopped. Jay Cousins, Johnny Loizaga is pushed back to June. Clayton Beater's going to start the season on the DL. Chase Hampton's got Tommy John. Now, one of the few lefties they have in their bullpen, Tyler Matzik, will most likely start on the DL. JT Brubaker hurt his ribs. And you got Luis Heel, Giancarlo Stanton, and Garrett Cole. Did I miss anybody? I'm sure I did. But this is where we are. And yeah, the big blows started with Stanton, right? Initially, it was just, oh, don't worry, it's just tennis elbows. That's it. Sit out a couple of weeks. He'll ramp up. And now we're flirting with the worst case scenario, where he's telling us he has severe pain in both of his elbows. He went back to New York to get a third round of PRPs. And Stanton himself has said that surgery's on the table. It's the last case, but it's on the table. And he said if it gets to that point, and it's certainly creeping close to that point, if it gets to the point where he does need the surgery, he said his season will be over. And to be honest, at this point, I mean, the guy can't move. He can't play the field. He can't run the bases. His whole lower body is basically paralyzed. Now it's coming up to his elbows. At this point, his career could very well be in jeopardy. And I love Stanton, and I will stand on top of Mount Everest and scream it at the top of my lungs. I believe that his contract at the end of the day was good value because of what he brings in the 1 month that I truly care about. But it is a huge issue losing him again. Because if you lose him for the whole year, let's remember, he was out last year, but he still played 100-something games. But if you lose him for the entire year and you don't get a single Stanton at bat from April to October, you're losing a lot. You're losing tremendous power. Who else? I mean, right, this has been a whole topic of conversation here. Who else is going to bring that legitimate home run threat beside Aaron Judge? Because Stanton, even with the time that he's off the field, even with the injuries, still finds his way to 25, 30 home runs every year. Every single year. And then you get to the postseason, it's like, well, you know that you can't rely on your captain. And the two guys who were consistently hitting for you last year, well, one of them left to go to some other team. Forget where. And now Stanton might not be here. The guy who is third most in playoff home runs for the Yankees all time, with significantly less games played than Bernie and the Mick. You're losing a right-handed bat. I mean, the Yankees have a lot more lefties than righties now. I think only 3 of their everyday guys are righties, right? Judge, Volpe, and Goldschmidt. Of course, they got 2 switch bats. But everybody else is lefty or switch. 3 righties. And what was the Yankees' biggest problem last year? It was hitting left-handed pitching. And Stanton is a guy who has, over the course of his entire career, Miami, New York, mashed lefties. So that's what you're losing. And again, what are you replacing that with? You're staying in-house. That means Ben Rice, Dom Smith may be part of this thing. Oh, by the way, when talking about injuries, I did miss somebody. I missed LeMahieu. But Minnesota is trying to shed some payroll. Do you think about Carlos Correa? Listen, if this was a Yankees team that was willing to make a move for Correa, I am all in. Correa would kill 2 birds in one stone, right? He'd give you your right-handed bat with power, and he'd give you that third baseman that you still don't have. But because the Yankees aren't really willing to make big splashes and commit to long-term contracts, seemingly this winter, it seems like Correa is going to be too costly for Hal Steinbrenner. So you think about trading for someone like Willie Castro, who, even when Stanton was healthy, I was like, all right, bring him in, but there's a big drop off. He's cheaper, obviously, but he's way less productive than a Correa. There's just not much. There's nothing left in the free agent market. So, I mean, this is why I keep mentioning, the Yankees did this to themselves. They did it to themselves. If they knew that Stanton had this injury last October, which they said they did. And you don't even they just use your common sense. Look at the guy's age. Look at his injury history. He's on the DL every season. You know what's going to happen. How did you not prep for this? All the names on the free agent market, the trade market this past winter. Of all those guys, you could have got a couple of them and said, all right, this is good. The Yankee brass said, no thanks. Hal's out there speaking about the Dodgers and, we can't afford to do what those markets are doing. We're only the Yankees. We can't afford to blow past that fourth CBT. Let them spend $80 million more than us. We can't afford that. We got to look at money before we look at the roster. All right, Hal, but, what about the cheaper options, like a Ha-Seong Kim, like a Jorge Polanco, like a Luis Rengifo, like a Yoan Moncada? What about someone like that? Cashman's out there speaking, we're waiting for the prices to drop. So now, because they waited so long and everybody's off with some other team, now we're in a situation where a questionable lineup might have to become your biggest strength again because of not only Stanton, but Heel and Cole. All of a sudden, the best rotation in the American League becomes your big question mark. Because on top of Giancarlo Stanton, you got the news a week ago or so that Luis Heel is going to miss at least 3 months with a high-grade lat injury. Now, when they say at least 3 months, you got to put that into Yankee language. I'm not expecting this guy to be a factor all year. I'm going to be totally honest with you guys. I think the way the Yankees should approach the season should be with the fact that you're going to be without Luis Heel. That should be the way they approach it. I'm not expecting him to be a factor. When he gets back, he's got to ramp up anyway. I mean, what are we talking? August? July? Setbacks happen all the time. So you're talking about last year, who was your rookie of the year, who filled in for Garrett Cole, now becomes potentially a non-factor for at least half the year, at least. So that guy's gone. And now your ace, your Cy Young Award winner from 2 years ago, your postseason ace, is starting to feel a little something in his elbow again, in his throwing elbow. He went for imaging after his start the other day, said the results have been distributed, and he went to his second opinion. He went to get a second opinion, which that right there, that's kind of the indicator that, okay, this is probably going to end bad. And then you hear him saying that he's concerned, Cashman saying that he's concerned and he's expecting the worst. And basically what the Yankees are trying to hint to you is that there's a really good chance, 90%, higher than 90%, that Garrett Cole is going to be getting Tommy John surgery. My theory, I mean, this isn't much of a theory, but I think he needed I think Cole needed it last year. But the Yankees had Juan Soto, so they were in that 1 year window where they needed to win the World Series. So they pushed through it. They said, let's not get the surgery. Let's just let you rest for a couple months. We'll push through it, try to win a World Series. So I think they knew this, and that's why they didn't want to offer the extra year this past free agency on his contract. They eventually did. They bit the bullet, signed him to the rest of his contract, and then they went out and got Fried as insurance. And now they're going to use Max Fried as an excuse to not really pounce on this Cole news once it comes out and just stay in-house. That's my theory. You know, I mean, Garrett Cole, when he came to camp early, it raised a couple of eyebrows. I don't know if he felt it then. But, you know, when he got lit the fuck up the other day, that kind of raised eyebrows even more. But yeah, I mean, I knew it would come back to kill him. I knew the elbow thing would come back eventually. That stuff doesn't magically go away. When you're a guy who's a high velocity pitcher, right? The fastball has become. It used to be the curveball back in the day, right? It was don't throw curveballs. My grandfather always used to tell me, never throw the curve. Well, now it's the fastball that kills guys. The amount of guys going down in the last couple of years with it's all these high velo guys. It's crazy. Now it's Heel, now it's Cole. George Kirby the other day. This guy who throws 98, 99. I had a feeling it wouldn't magically go away. I mean, you watched him, right? You've seen him pitch the last couple of years. The stuff has taken a steep drop-off. If you go and actually take a look at his peripherals on Savant, look at his charts in 2021 and in 2022. It's all red. And then look at his charts 2023 and 2024. It's very mixed. There's been a steep drop-off. You watch him. He's only throwing 95, 96. Last year he came back through 95, 96 on average. That's a big dip in velocity from where he usually was. In spring the other day, it was the same thing. He was throwing 95 on average. He touched 98 a few times, but he also touched 93 a few times. Just the stuff is not the same. And so if he goes out and he gets this Tommy John surgery now, which he probably is going to, I'm like, I don't need updates. Just it's unfortunate. But like, I'm not to be disrespectful, but like, if he gets Tommy John, let's find another ace. Let's move on. Obviously, he's still under contract, but like, I have zero interest in following Garrett's road to recovery. I don't need to know, Yes Network's constantly updating. I don't know. Like, when he gets back, if he gets this surgery, when he returns, what are we talking about? 36-year-old coming off elbow issues the last 2 years? A ton of wear and tear as a high velo guy coming off Tommy John, where he only threw 95 prior to. I'm not. What's he going to come back throwing 93? He's already not been the same starter that he was a couple years ago. So I have no interest in Yes Network reporting to me that he's doing jumping jacks and he's upgraded to playing patty cake and he's playing catch in the outfield. I don't need any of that. The second they get this news, they need to pounce. So in my opinion, the Yankees are left with two paths once this becomes official. One, they have to get completely fleeced for a Dylan Cease or a Sandy Alcantara or Alcantara, however you say his name. Or two, you basically concede the current year. You try to do what you can in-house. You try to sell the fans on your in-house alternatives. You make a small move, maybe for an Eric Fetty, which is not going to do the trick. Something small, and then you really rebuild your roster next winter. That's it. You either get fleeced or you concede. Now, any Yankees fan with a sense of respect and dignity would prefer the Yankees to give up a haul for a Cease or Sandy. But we all know at the same time the way this organization has operated, it's very likely they're going to opt for the second option. Let's just stay in-house, maybe make a smaller move, and try to sell you on that bullshit. So, that's where we are. And maybe once this news becomes official, we'll do a separate episode on replacement options and we'll talk about Cease and Alcantara because those are the two names who keep coming up. Right, Dylan Cease, a guy that I wanted the first time. San Diego's trying to shed some payroll. This is a guy who is durable as hell, still in his 20s. I mean, he makes 30 starts a year, 180 plus innings a year. He's a power pitcher with strikeout stuff. He can get big outs, 98-mile-an-hour fastball, wipeout slider, ton of swing and miss, ton of chase, high K rate. Good-ass pitcher. But he's expiring. So if you want to go after someone like Cease, you're taking an even bigger risk. You're going to have to, do you really want to give up a haul of prospects, Warren, Jones, etc., maybe Dominguez for an expiring pitcher. Now with Sandy over in Miami, they're trying to move him. He already got the Tommy John surgery. He's currently on the comeback, and he looks good in spring. You can make that move. He's a 2-time All-Star Cy Young winner. Power sinker, filthy changeup, gets a ton of ground balls with that 2-seam. A lot of swing and miss, a lot of chase with that changeup. It's a high-power changeup. It sits 92, 93. That sinker sits 98, 99. He's got 3 years of control left, I believe, at $11 million in salary towards the tax. So he won't cost, or he won't be as high risk, but he's still going to cost you a ton of prospect capital. It's still going to be Jones, Warren, Dominguez will probably be where they start. Do you want to give away an important bat? If it's Dominguez, do you really want to give away somebody who's going to be a key staple or is expected to be a key staple in the lineup this year? In a lineup that's already questionable? You know you're taking a hit there. So basically, all in all, I think the Yankees are absolutely screwed. I don't think they have the offense to make up for a loss like this unless they make an unrealistic trade like that. Which, again, you're too financially invested in this team at this point to not make a big move. At the same time, it's very early. It's kind of early to make a trade. You know, with the wild card format being what it is now, a lot of these teams like to see if they can make a run first. San Diego has made the postseason 3 times this decade. They took the Dodgers to Game 5 in the LDS last year. Even the Marlins, they made the postseasons a couple of times this decade, as recent as 2023. So a lot of these teams are going to wait it out, see what's up at the deadline. And so that would leave the Yankees with the rotation as it is of Fried, Schmidt, Rodon, Stroman, and probably Warren. With Carlos Carrasco as your number 6, if Schmidt's not ready by then. Because remember, Schmidt's got a back issue. You know, and I joked to my buddy the other week. I said, you know, man, when they signed Carrasco, I said, if he breaks camp, a lot of things would have had to go wrong. And here we are. Here we are, where a rotation that was supposed to be your identity is now, can I say, average? So I'm just a little tired of it, man. Tired of these injuries every single year. Yankees got pretty good luck last year, but it happens too often. I mean, the last time the Yankees won the World Series, 4 of their 5 starting pitchers threw 150 plus. The last time they won the World Series, 8 of their 9 bats saw 500 plate appearances or more. So you can have all the talent you want. If you don't have the health, it does not matter. The Yankees do not have the health. So now we're sitting here talking about unrealistic MLB The Show blockbuster trades because their second biggest power hitter and their biggest pitcher are both in jeopardy to miss the entire season. This is the biggest... I don't know. This is probably the first time ever, probably the first time in my entire life that I'm going into the Yankees season with an expectation that they can probably miss the playoffs. Even going into 2023, nobody expected them to miss the playoffs. But if they get this news and they don't magically make a big move following the news, yeah, there's a pretty good chance they miss the postseason, even with a weak American League. Maybe they can sneak in a wild card, but they're not. Point being, they're not winning the World Series if Garrett Cole goes down. Let's just be realistic. Let's shoot it straight. This is not good. Appreciate you all tuning in. This is my initial reaction, so as more news starts to come out about this, we'll have some episodes. But this is it for episode 817. The Yankees 2025 season is in jeopardy. Appreciate you all tuning in. See you very soon. Well, if you made it this far, that means you listened to or watched the entire episode. Thank you. Just remember to follow, subscribe, download, rate and review, and all that fun stuff to help out the podcast. And I will see you in the next episode of BD4.